To all the seekers of truth, I bow. People are seeking today everywhere. The seeking is there. It's a sort of an upsurge of seeking. People are talking about seeking, they are writing about seeking, they are asking for something. What they are asking for, what they are expecting is not yet known to many of them. But one thing is there, that they know why they are seeking. They are seeking because the atmosphere has that fragrance that invites the bees from far off places. The atmosphere is charmed with that beautiful aura that the flowers are out. Perhaps people are not aware of that, but they are definitely aware that wherever they are not yet satisfied. And some of them are absolutely frustrated with what is their life as human beings is. Absolutely frustrated with it. So even they may not be aware of the promises in the air. They are definitely aware that wherever they are, there is a problem. A life that's a struggle. Life that's not fulfillment. Life that is going on with relative world, with relativity. There is no absolute to depend on. There is such a confusion. You don't know what to choose, what to see, what to depend on, who to call the real, who to call the unreal. Whether is it nice to be married or unmarried, whether it is nice to be democratic or socialistic, whether it is right to be capitalistic or individualistic or any other sticks as they are. All these things confuse the human mind and they don't know what to do now. We've done our level best. At this juncture, we have to remember the scriptures which have said that you are to be born again. You are to be born again. Now this can be literally taken by people, we are to be born again. So now we are eggs, supposing, and we have to become the birds. Because in Sanskrit language, a bird is also called as Dvijaha. And a realized soul is also called as a Dvijaha. Means first you are an egg and then you become a bird, a second bird. But there are people who can just certify. The myth goes hand in hand with it. All the time the myth is carried too far with the truth till you really discover what you are. Up to that point you have a sheath of myths which are difficult to be dropped out unless and until you become the truth. The sheath of myths is so thick sometimes that even the divine doesn't want to go near that, wants to recede away from that. And this is what exactly today we are facing. The myths on one side just covering you up on all the four fronts, while you are getting out of it, discarding one by one. The falsehood has one great quality, that it all gets exposed and falls off. But takes time. And that's why in Sahaja Yoga today, we don't need time. Tat kshana is the word in Sanskrit language. Tat kshana. at that moment, tat kshana, at that moment. In the dynamism of that moment you get it. It had to be like that. There's no other way out. Because the more you allow to linger it, the myth crawls upon it. And that is why one has to get rid of the time factor completely. Many people I have heard and said that first you have to cleanse yourself. You must study this, you must study that. You go through this kind of a penance and you go through that kind of a thing. That doesn't work out. The more you try to do like this, the myth crawls with you up. When you get involved into the myth. Better have a jet kundalini now, in the modern times. As you have developed a jet, let's develop the kundalini on the same speed. The speed has to be so great that at the split of the second the kundalini must rise. It was all to be so. And that's how it is. I think it is quite timely, as all the myths are dropping out gradually, and a thin sheath, whatever is left, can be penetrated through. Here is your kundalini settled down nicely there, just waiting for this moment. She's there, she's your mother. That's your mother. Now the quality of a motherhood has not been so much understood in the West. But, or maybe it has been discarded quite a lot. But in India, a mother is higher than anything else. There's a story of Shri Ganesh that his mother said that I have to give you a special present. And if you go round the Mother Earth 3 times, the one who does first, I'll give the prize. And the another son was Kartikeya. Ganesha is of wisdom. He is the embodiment of wisdom. He just thought, who is higher than my mother, who is the primordial mother? So what is the need to go round the Mother Earth? I'll better go round my mother itself. And he got the prize. So the wisdom lies in understanding that motherhood is the complete fulfillment of your being. Whether you are a man or a woman makes no difference. See, first, the manliness of God, the wrathful God. The one like Shri Krishna, who had to kill so many devils. At that time, the mother had to also kill so many devils. She had to do it. She had to take that kind of a form only, whether she was a woman or anything, she had to become a power of killing. Samhara Shakti, as they call it. Because that was the quality that had to develop in human beings. Then the sun. The sun came as the embodiment of prayer, of sacrifice. In your own astrology, first the Aries and then the Pisces. And now the Aquarius. Aquarius is the mother. In Sanskrit language, Kundalini is also called as Kumbha. Kumbha means Aquarius. Now this has to fulfill. This has to nourish, has to redeem you, has to comfort you. If you are very thirsty, you come home and a glass of water, it comforts you. And it has to counsel you also. That's why when Mr. Modi was saying at the fag end of his lecture that learning in Sahaja Yoga is unending. The learning, he didn't mean books or understanding through brains, but through experimentation, through the experiences you have. So this is a special thing within us which is just resting there, so people call that Kundalini sleeping. She is in 3.5 coil. Now you may say, Mother, why 3.5 coil? It has a mathematical coefficients for eternity. That's why she's there in 3.5 coil. It has many other things also. That 3.5 coils are the 3 powers of the primordial mother. It is the left side, the right side, and the central part. Left, the comforter; right, the counselor; the center, the redeemer. And the half is the complete, is the Adi Shakti herself, the primordial mother. She is called as residual because she manifests everything but remains the same as she is. She is the reflection of the divine power of love of God, is known as the Holy Ghost in the Bible. That's the mother quality of God's love, which creates through its right side, which desires through its left side, and which sustains and evolves through the central side. These are her 3 powers which she works on. Through this central power also, we have become human beings. And now, this residual power which has not manifested itself, the true desire that has not manifested itself, true desire to be one with the divine which has not yet shown its light, has to rise, integrate these 3 powers at this point. And to give you complete integration of your physical, mental and emotional side. All the 3 cosmoses are to be integrated within you. Through this happening. Now the trouble with the Western mind, we must study. Eastern mind has one problem: when I am with you, I am Western myself. So the trouble with the Western mind is that the mind has started thinking. Everything they try to analyze. That is also has come through a special happening in the brain. And also through the nature of life that they had to face. Here in this country, it's very hard to live, I must say. Not because of all the problems, but because when they came here, the nature was so much against them. They had to fight the nature so much. It's such an extreme climate to fight the nature. They could not put attention to something that is within. At the time when people were fighting nature, in England, in India, people had reached very great heights of meditative achievements. The reason is they didn't have to bother about the nature. They could live in a jungle, even now, happily. You could get the fruits and there's no problem from anything like a cold season coming with icy things coming down. And the meditative process in India started, as far as you can trace it mythologically, because historically we are only there for 300 years when the Britishers ruled us, according to them. But according to the Indian history, we have been existing for thousands of years, and thousands of years back, up to the 16,000 years back, people have written about the meditative ascent and what you achieve and what you feel. Of course, it was not exposed so much. People didn't talk about it. It was used only for one person here and one person there. It was only first taught very openly by Adi Shankaracharya, who tried to reform Hinduism on proper lines. Actually, according to Sahaja, he was Buddha reborn to correct people. because Buddha had taken them from one line to another line, because they had become very ritualistic. So he said, all right, take them down to something else. Like when first they started working on the Kundalini and all that, they started seeing the images, because if you go from outside, you see the image. So they started worshipping the images. Buddha felt that now talking about God has been too much. Because people talked about God, people have started thinking, oh, they are already chosen ones, as we have many chosen ones in the West also. They started thinking we are the ones, we have achieved something. So he said, all right, don't talk about God at all. Just don't talk. Talk about self-realization. And that's how he put them onto another side, that there is only formless God. Don't talk of anything, formless, about the all-pervading, about the self, that's all, nothing beyond. And then he had to come back again to tell people, as Adi Shankaracharya, that the forms are correct, no doubt. But you are not to stuck up with the forms. The ascent of the Kundalini has to take place. And it is he who very openly talked about the Kundalini in the 6th century. But just after his advent, you will be amazed, there was an upsurge of all negative forces in our country, especially in the belt, starting from the east to the west. And very bad people, just devils I should say, came on this earth to establish cults and the sort of things you have today, same style of things, most of them connected with the sects. Ruining the complete moral sense and the sustenance of human beings. Chastity is the sustenance of human beings. If you have no sense of sustenance, you are not a human being anymore. But this was flouted completely because Adi Shankaracharya all the time insisted that innocence is the most important thing human beings must have. At any cost, they should not accept anything that is not innocent. So there was a big attack on innocence and the innocent people. And they befooled the kings and they befooled everyone. There's a big history about it. And they established their own temples and established their own nonsensical things. But to the general public it was nothing. It was all nonsensical phase which came and went. Of course, not to the Western people. If you see the Western people going down there, they'll put their zoom lenses, you see, and see all microscopic things. So particular to see all these things. To them it is such a great education. Can you imagine? To them it's a very great education, these things which are against God. They don't want to hear it. If you tell them that this is not going to give you realization, they don't want to hear it. Even the animals know this. Animals know about it. What is there to talk so much about this nonsense? But people believed them more than they believed the real saints of India. The real saints of India are lost in the forest. They are not to be seen anywhere. With great difficulty I managed one fellow to come down to New York. Within 3 days he ran away. And even Mr. Modi, whom you saw, I brought him with force. But like Jack in the box, he's running away every moment. Every morning he's saying, I'm going away. I cannot manage these people. He doesn't want to stay. Because the reason is you are so much fed by the mental projections. You all have to be collective. You have to be this. This has to be done. We have to have a global thing. All big, big words. But how? A simple HOW, if you ask them, they have no answer. You have to take your attention inside, do your meditation. All these talks are there, which are not going to give you anything. There's a living process of living evolution, of the living force, of the living God. The actualization of it. The most important thing is the actualization. You should not even believe me, I would say. Of course, you should not put a barrier against me in any case. But at least you should not believe me till you get your realization. You should get actualization of the experience. Don't be satisfied with the myths. Sahaja Yoga is meant for people who are true seekers and not for people who have already accepted the myth as the truth and are identified with. You have to drop out all these identifications as soon as you get your realization. I have seen people get realization. In London especially, I have much more bigger groups coming down. They get their realization, then they get lost. The reason is that they start mentally understanding the thing and all their misidentifications again get hold of them. I am not worried about realization part. That's very easy to achieve, I think. But to retain it, you have to do it. And that's the part where people fail. Now when this Kundalini rises, say, from there, she comes up here through a very, very small channel, which is not yet expanded enough for the Kundalini to come out. You can say like a hair energy. Because Kundalini is made of many coils. In the sense that there are many threads which coil together and make 3.5 coils. But actually there are so many threads, just like a rope you can say. And one of them would come out to rise, if it comes to know the message, if it gets, through the lower center, that is so right. Then only a wee bit comes up. And then again it will drop out. If this center is weak, it can pull down. So you might feel I have lost my realization. It may happen. Now you must know how to raise it. And what are the problems that face us? Why we drop out? We should see it very clearly. We can generally say that there are two types of people. Of course there are permutations, combinations, endless. Mostly we have people who are left-sided or right-sided in the sense that some are very emotional and some are only mental. Now the two types of people that we have, the emotional, the left side, the right side, are the people who are futuristic, planning. They appear to be very successful in life and they produce an institution called ego on top. And these produce an institution called superego. That's how an egg is formed. Now when the Kundalini is rising, then first it touches this center. Now this center, it cannot touch if there's something wrong with this center, though this center comes out of that center. Because this center of Swadhisthana caters one side, on the right hand side, to our futuristic thinking, and another one to our past, to our subconscious, to our collective subconscious. Now if you have been to a wrong type of a person and bowed this head before that person, then you get stuck there only. The Kundalini is stuck just here. At this point it cannot rise. Now she goes there and looks after. But even with the force of your mother's love, even if she touches here and she comes out, it can again go back there to work it out. So one has to know that after realization, first of all you must know what centers are troubling you. We have to face ourselves because now you are out of it. Now you are no more identified with this body or with this mind. You are outside, just like a car that you are outside now to repair it. So you must face yourself honestly that, oh, this is the center I am catching. So you find out how to cure that center. This you have to do. At the most, you can be given realization by me. But this you have to do yourself, is to cure that center. Get that center all right. Then the other side of it is the right side. which is very common in the Western countries. Because this center on the right side converts the fact for the use of the brain. You know that we are all the time planning, thinking, using the brain cells, and who replaces them? Do you know that the brain is made of fat cells? In Sanskrit it's called as Meda. Mendu. And Meda is fat and Mendu is the brain. So these fat cells are converted to go to the brain. If you are thinking too much, if you are futuristic, then these cells are transformed by this particular center on the right hand side, and you develop an imbalance in your character. And the imbalance comes that this center cannot cater to other organs which are to be looked after, like your liver, then your spleen, then your pancreas, your uterus and kidneys. So such people can develop problems with all these organs. But if you do this too much, if you are an extrovert, complete extrovert, and you are not at all paying attention to your spirit and you are very hard working, you see, working very hard, like jogging itself. Now jogging is a new fad I have seen, I don't understand. Like mad people are running for what? They said we want to have a better physical side. But then the rest of it is neglected. Why don't you bother about that? If you are a real jogger, you will find they are never happy people. They are miserable. Because they have no emotions left in them. They drain out all their emotions. They are completely imbalanced on the right side. All people who are great politicians or great administrators or great generals have no left side in them. They have only the right side. And they work with the right side, but ultimately they find out that the right side has now taken over, they have no emotions. I have had many people like that who came and told me, Mother, I have no emotions, I have reached my heights. I said, yes, that's the inflation of the ego. But this can go very much further, that if this starts bloating too much, you leave the grounds and you become a shallow personality. Really become a shallow personality. You cannot understand the depth of anything. You cannot go to the depth of anything. All kinds of fashions that come up, all kinds of shallow things that appear just quickly. It's like a shopping going on. And even about spirituality, you talk like this. I mean, I belong to another society also where I've seen all the people talking. Oh, I've been to this guru, you see, and I didn't find him so good. He's rather cheap, but the other one seems to be better, though expensive. I mean, I'm really astounded. How can you talk about spirituality in such a cheap manner, as if there's a sale on here and a sale on there is but little cheaper and that one is little more expensive. But it happens because this ego takes you floating in the air. And you don't realize what you are doing. That's the biggest problem. What's wrong? There's nothing wrong. We must go to everyone, put our nose into every corner. Even if you are bitten, doesn't matter. If another was bitten, say, his nose is lost, then you say, why not mine? I'll see. He will not bite me. Then you get bitten. Then you tell another, nobody bites you putting your hand on your nose. Better try. Another one goes. If your tail is cut, you do the same thing. You don't want to confess that you have made a mistake because ego is idiotic and it never allows you to confess that you have made a mistake. Even if you are ruined, you will not accept it. It's such a misidentification. The more you have it, the ego starts bloating like that. And this is another thing that always comes up. It's like a balloon, I tell you. With the slightest touch, though you have shriveled it completely through realization, it again bloats up. Again the people start bloating in the air. Now, you try to again bring it back. So the best thing would be that you start seeing your ego itself. And you say, oh God, this Mr. Ego is again coming back. And then you know the method how to put it down, how to bring it down, how to give the balance through the power that is flowing through your hands. And this is what you have to learn after you have been realized. If you do not learn this, then the problem will be that after a year I'll come, you will be in the same position and you'll say, I don't know what has happened, mother, I've lost my vibration. Because it creates a barrier, it covers the whole head here. It creates such a barrier that you cannot penetrate. So you have to face yourself very well. When this Mr. Ego appears, you must learn how to reduce the pressure of this ego. Then you start enjoying the play of it. Then you laugh at it. All right, Mr. Ego, I've known you very well, now let's have it. You don't fight it. Just looking at it, it drops down because it's a myth. Ego is the biggest myth. What do we do? Just see, this is very clear cut, I'm asking you. Can we transform one flower into a fruit? We can't. Not even a single living work we can do. Somebody got a living, say a sperm, and put it in a living ova, and then it germinated, so they say, oh, we have done such a great thing. What is so great? You couldn't produce life. You couldn't produce even an amoeba with your science. With all your great advancement, can you produce a computer which just sees and does not need any thinking? You cannot create spontaneity. Understand, this ego is nonsensical. With all your dogmas, this, that, what have you done? A wood is there because some tree died, so you have put the floor, you made the house. Now very proud we have made a house. So what, dead to the dead? If you make from a tree, say, a chair, alright, the chair sits on your head. People have to carry their chairs, they can't sit on the ground. They find it impossible to sit on the ground, the chair becomes their an additional appendage. They can't get rid of it. So this matter starts sitting on your head when you start thinking, oh, I've done this and I've done that. You have done nothing except for changing from one dead to another dead. Face it. Face it yourself and know that whatever you think to be so great is not so. This ego can really befool you to such a limit that you end up in a lunatic asylum. Till then you will not realize that you have been a great idiot all your life. It's such a horrible thing, and thank God, I must say that in our country we have so many anecdotes about it that it is difficult to be egoistical in India. From very childhood, you see, you are poked into your ego and you know where you stand with life. See, you are made very practical there. But here, even the children are allowed to do what they like. Everybody is, yes, they are free to do what they like. Whether they have wisdom or not, nobody sees. People don't even judge if they have the wisdom. Like with me, they'll come to quarrel. I said, now, how many people have you given realization? Why are you fighting with me? What have you achieved yourself that you're fighting with me? Why are you fighting with me? Just because their ego is challenged for this point or that point. Ego is not yourself, believe me. Yourself is so beautiful, tremendously powerful. You have to become that self. Otherwise you will be an idiot out and out. I tell you, sometimes it's so surprising how people carry on with their idiocy and do not know that they are idiots. They talk in such a manner, they behave in such a manner that others can see but they cannot see. It is such a blinding force. So this center, if it is too much used for becoming a very intellectualized, mental projected giant, then the giant, I know what it is. So for such a person, I have a message to say. To get rid of it, one has to say, I am nothing, I am zero. I am nothing, I have not known anything. Like Newton said, see, he was a realized soul. When he found out, what did he say? I am still like a little child collecting pebbles at the shore of knowledge. But a person who has no knowledge or is half knowledge, he is so bombastic, he talks so big, he writes books, he thinks not of himself. Einstein now, such a great man, he says at the very beginning of the book that I was fed up with all the searches and everything, who is another realized soul. But when I was just tired, I was lying in my garden playing with bubbles like a child. Suddenly the theory of relativity dawned upon me, because whatever is unknown has to dawn upon you. And whatever is known is already in the libraries. But whatever is unknown dawns upon you. Through your mental projection you cannot reach there. When you are tired, fed up at the door of reality, the reality graciously expresses itself. This is what we have to know, that through ego we are not going to know anything. Through ego people dominated other countries. Through ego they killed so many people. All kinds of violences came in, and there has been wars after war, this war and then that war and that war. Now when people say that we made good countries, we made countries for peace and love, why there is violence? Ego is the one that wants to fight. Ego is the one that lets you out, and if it is possessed by another egoistical fellow, then God save this world, like Mr. Hitler did, that he put his ego on everybody else using some methods of supraconscious activity. We know them in India, people can do it. He got it from Tibet, of course, from Lhasa. And he worked it out, supraconscious things, and he really befooled all the people. And they believed what were they doing was good. And that's how they killed their kith and kin, human beings. Imagine, this kind of massacre is only possible for human beings to do. But what is the solution to overcome this ego, which is so destructive, which is so hateful, which destroys everything that is beautiful within you, is your spirit. When the light of spirit shines in you, you see this horrible thing, laugh at it. Just get rid of it in no time, because the spirit pushes it out. This one is a center for that, as it is, you can see here, is the center of Christ. Many people talk of Christ. Talk of Christ, they don't know where he stands within us. They don't want to go outside Bible to find out if somebody has talked about him. They use Bible as if they are the people who are Christ. As if they are the people who have written the Bible. As if they are the ones who can interpret Bible. And I can tell you they don't know anything about it. Because to understand even the essence of these great scriptures, you have to be a realized soul, otherwise you will not understand. For example, it is said in the Bible, I will appear before you like tongues of flames. Can you explain it? Can any clergyman explain what it means? About the Holy Ghost, it's a mystery. They say we are agnostic about it. Then we ask them, what are you doing? They said we are doing the job of a clergyman. As if there is another job to be done as a clergyman. What is a Holy Ghost? What must be? Trinity of a Father and a Son. And having a father and a son without a mother is absolutely an impossibility. But they don't want to have the mother there, so they didn't talk about it. There are so many other things they cannot explain. In Indian scripture said, there are many great learned Indian philosophers. But Kabira said, Padi padi pandita murakha bahe, means by learning too much, even the learned have become idiots. So as child I used to think, how can it be that by reading people have become idiots? But now I see the signs everywhere, they are idiots. You see, if they read Gita, they think they have become Vyasa. If they read Vedas, they think they have become the Vedantist in the sense that they are the Vedas. Whatever they read, they think they have become while not understanding anything about it. First you have to become. Once you have become, then you will understand what is Gita is, what is Veda is, what is Zen system. There are many who claim we are Zen. Now, the head of the Zen himself is not a realized soul, but an honest man. So I asked him, you are not realized? He says, I know I am not realized. Then I said, what are you doing with the Zen? Zen means the knowledge, and knowledge after realization, isn't it? Yes, it's true, but you see, I have not realized. He told me that only from the 6th to the 12th century, we had 26 Kashyapas, means realized souls. Then I said, now what are you doing about Zen? You better give up. You should be honest also to give it up, because you are not a realized soul, you cannot talk about God. You have no authority, it is all unauthorized. Unless and until you are a realized soul, you have no business to talk about God. He could not see the point there, but he was very sick because he had come to me for getting cured, and I did cure him. But that's besides the point. I wish I could cure his ignorance about it. So when you start dealing with the third center, that is the Navi chakra as they call it, which is about your seeking, also you have problem there. Navi chakra has two sides, right and left side. Now some people who are true seekers remain in the central path. True seekers have an advantage that they remain in the central path. They may get lost here and there, but they come back to the central path. But there are people who believe that God is a money-making proposition. They think that you can sell God in the market. I mean, most of the people do it. For them, it is an organization which can be commercialized. If not, they'll sell candles, they'll send Bibles, they'll send Gitas, they'll send this, that, sell that, make a profit out of that. It cannot be commercialized is the point. They cannot see it clearly. You cannot, it's purity. How can you commercialize purity? Can you sell your purity? As soon as you sell it, it becomes impure. It is done by everyone. All people who are professing religions are all doing this. I mean, one may say that, Mother, how do you travel? Or I can say, now I can afford it, I travel it. But supposing you pay to the travel agent, not to me, it's all right. But I cannot live on your earnings. That is parasitic. If I start living on your earnings, then it is a dependence on your money. I mean, if I tell you, you come and stay in my house free, you won't accept such a situation. It's below your self-respect for a normal person also to take money from anybody else, to live on another people's money. There can be thugs and thieves. That's a different one. Those who cheat. That's a different one. But you cannot have the money of other people, use them for your purpose, and then after that you should say that I am a religious person. I am following this religion, and preach about religion then. Those who live in glass houses cannot talk about God. That's what exactly it is. And we have to understand, you cannot commercialize God. It's the greatest blasphemy. Everybody has done it. It's a very sophisticated matter. Every fanatic has done it, to make money out of the people who follow them. But thank God, all this falls off. So the religion is within yourself, here surrounding. It's the valency that you have, the 10 valencies as a human being, which gives you the sustenance, which gives you the spiral arrangement of your genetics, of your peptones, of your nerves. That's the sustenance that you have. These 10 valencies are important. These are the 10 commandments within you, which you have to follow. But no one thinks it is so. No one even wants to know by doing all this, what is the transformation we have got. For example, if I ask a simple question, Christ has said one, thou shalt not have adulterous eyes. How many Christians can claim that? That they have innocent eyes. Let's face ourselves. How many clergymen and people can say we have innocent eyes? If you are a true Christian, you should have those eyes. If this transformation has not taken place in you, then know that you have not achieved it. Do not try to cheat yourself by believing that you are chosen people. Christ himself has said, you will be calling me Christ, Christ, I won't recognize you. He said it very clearly. Till you have your transformation, you should not believe into anything that is this so-called outside religion. In the sense, these are all the flowers born on the same tree of life, beautiful, belonging to the same food, but were plucked by human beings, identified as their own, and made ugly, dead. They still exist within you. Here on this green path you see are the advent of the 10 main primordial masters who came on this earth to establish your balance, to give you the sense of sustenance that is called as dharma, which you can call as a religion. Religo is the word which means, I don't know, I found out in a dictionary, means the consciousness of consciousness. It's the very word that says. In one of the dictionaries I read, it means consciousness of consciousness, means the essence of consciousness. The one that governs the consciousness is your dharma. But when you don't have that dharma, when you don't have that balance, you see, the ego starts rising, you have no weight. Dharma means your gravity. You have no gravity, and so you float in the air. What's wrong? What's wrong? You go on like this. You float in the air. You become a shallow personality because there is no dharma to keep you on the ground. And the first thing is to establish dharma. That's why all these great people like Abraham, Moses, and all others came on this earth to establish that. The latest one we had was in Shri, Sainath. But now we have got also people who are just trying to copy him, and imposters. But he was the real one who came last time, and he has done a great job in that area where is Sahaja Yoga working the best, in the deepest way. She should bring that child to see.
She is, Mother. There's going to be an appointment being made. I'm going to tell you about it.
Huh?
She is making an appointment to see
Mother, I'm going to tell you about it.
All right. You see, because here, what will that poor child?
Yes.
She's possessed.
Yes, Mother. The doctors have been able to do nothing.
She's curable. But, you see, here I cannot do that. All right?
Yes, Mother.
Tomorrow, I may not be free, isn't it? No. But when I come back from the seminar, then you can ask her to come. All right? So now we come to the void, we call it void, not the Zen style void, but here is the void, which is looked after, protected, sustained by 10 principles of life. Of course, I must say, Moses, when he came down, he found the Jews were in such a bad shape that he thought that better to put some very strong measures. So he found these shariats, which are a bit too much, he put it. It was essential at that time. But the Muslims are following the shariat, not the Christians, not the Jews. Just imagine. The Muslims are doing the shariat which was put by Moses. Now, so we have 3 fanatics already brought out of one thing. Anything you do for human beings, They know how to make a mess out of it. They are such experts, I tell you. You see anything, Christ, see his life. What have they done to it? I see him crucified every minute. Hinduism, same thing. Hindus, it is said that in everybody there resides the spirit. But they have caste system. They have born Brahmins. They have got born Shudras. How can you be born? In the former days, it was never in the heads of people. Like when Vyasa wrote Gita, himself was the illegitimate child of a fisherwoman, and how can he write that you have to be a born Brahmin? Just think. Vyasa wrote Gita, who was the son of an ordinary fisherwoman, which are regarded as scheduled caste in India. So they will have these caste systems. Now the caste system has become a political front for Indians. They have no sense of caste now left. And so, this country where the people believe that you have spirit in everybody has become such a horrid place of fighting. Now you have Christians, where Christ has said, "Thou shalt not have adulterous eyes." I have yet to see a Western Christian who doesn't have that kind of an eye. First, when I came to the West, I was surprised, what are they up to? Looking at this one, looking at that one. They cannot rest their eyes for 1 minute. I was amazed the way they were looking at each and every woman, and every woman looking at each and every man. See? So a lady asked me, "Mother, where are you looking?" I said, "At the children. They are to be seen. Aren't they beautiful? They are innocent." We never look at children. We look at this. Taller the better. Where are those eyes which Christ has said? The second thing he said, that you have nothing to do with the dead. He took out those dead and put them in the pigs and sent them in the sea that they should vanish. But every church, I hope this doesn't happen, have dead bodies down below. When you walk in the church, you have to see that who is sleeping there. You walk this way, that way. You don't know what to do. You have to walk on the dead bodies. No wonder the Christians are getting possessed. If you sit every Sunday on a dead body, what will happen? It's a cemetery all over. So they said there must be a church for the dead. All right, keep it outside. Actually, they should not have church in this world. They have their church in some other world. Now we have witchcraft in New York. We have the science of the dead. We have parapsychology. We have all kinds of things here working out. All which has to deal with the dead. The whole of your country is now busy with the dead. I think people are not aware of it. All your psychological problems are there because you are interested in dead. Psychology can be easily made cleared out. The psyche can be cleared out as soon as these dead leave you. You go to the past, you study the past, you are bothered about the past. Your mother, your father who is dead, you don't want to live in the present. And in the present lies reality. So the people who were first on the right hand side in the West, when they came to fight all the people who were living here, to destroy them, then they came on the right side. Now they are dead. So now they are on the left side. Perhaps they are possessed by those people who came. Possibly. Those red Indians whom you have killed might be possessing you today. God knows. I have seen some of them doing that. I have seen people having possessions of these red Indians in them. And that's why they can become volcanic. Very hot-tempered. And to add to fire, you've got all the Indians who are experts in the science of death nicely settled down. Have it now. And you are very much impressed by them because there's already some dead sitting in your head. So you get impressed. And that's how we are going more towards the dead. Now you'll be amazed, going towards the dead causes how many diseases. Once you start going to the dead, the first disease you contact would be cancer. Cancer is the triggering of the vulnerable condition of a human body by a dead spirit. In Sahaja Yoga language, because we are frank and straightforward. But according to medical science, it's triggering by the proteins 52, 58, that's the name they give because they don't know what to say, which enters into our being from the areas which are built within us since our creations, means collective subconscious. Subconscious is kept on one side. Why do you want to go to the subconscious? God has organized you so well. Why do you want to go to the subconscious and get involved with the dead? But then the ego says, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong. Nothing can harm you. Nothing is dangerous. Indians have that wisdom because we are very traditionally built like that. We don't want near these people. In the forests and all that, there are people like that who do it. All these gurus who are making money out of you are just mesmerizing you. Simple thing. But these people in India are living in the forest hidden. And these gurus have got their vidya, so-called, the knowledge from them. And they are mesmerizing you and making money out of you. You are walking under the blanket. You'll be amazed. I was in Los Angeles, when a lady wanted to interview me on the television, and she announced about 20 minutes earlier that today we have Mataji Nirmala Devi before us, who is going to speak about Kundalini. So within that 20 minutes, you see, another ladies from somewhere telephoned to her that I know she came 10 years back and she had warned us. By name she had told us that these are the people who are coming, they are training up themselves to come up here. And they'll have mass hypnosis. But we did not listen. She said, I am under the blanket, my husband is under the blanket now. Can she save us? And this lady, just before asking me any question, she asked me, did you come here 10 years back? Yes. I said, yes, I did. But that time nobody was willing to see me or meet me. They were having calls from Tibet, some Shambhala nonsense was on, sitting down in a basement somewhere. We are talking to Shambhala. What is that Shambhala is? Sambhal is the word. What niceness, I tell you. Sambhal. This part is Sambhal. This is what it is. So they said we have to go to Gobi Desert. They are planning to go to Gobi Desert. If you go to Gobi Desert, within half a mile you will die. That's the Nirvana. So many were, you see, making arrangements to go to Gobi Desert in those days when I had come 10 years back. I don't know how many are lost. I don't see them anywhere. And all sorts of nonsensical, mythical things they were busy with. And when I told them that you cannot pay any money for it, that was the end of my talks. They wouldn't come to my programs, they wouldn't look at me. They said there must be something humbug, that's why she's not charging any money. And I went away. Of course I did all the traveling, talking, everything. It's all recorded, it was there. So this is what happens to us in our seeking. Here, when we bend ourselves before someone, we are just denying the truth. What have you found out? Why don't you find out what sort of a person he is? What has he given to others? What have they got from others? When you go to their disciples, you'll find they are mostly cabbages. Now, there are some who claim that in this country we have created peace. If you go and see, all people have become cabbages. Now, what is the peace of a cabbage? This is what they do to you to make you completely their slaves. Here it is, you have to become a complete free personality, like a bird you should fly. I don't think Mr. Modi has ever spoken in his lifetime before he came to Sahaja. But today you think he is a knowledge because he has become that. Kundalini just pushes you into that. She has no time. She's so anxious. She'll just push you to be the knowledge, to be the knowledge. Again I say, it's to be. It's not what I say or talk to you, my lectures to be remembered by heart or to be quoted. But it has to be within you to happen, is the point. Unless and until that happens to you, you are not to believe yourself also. There cannot be a false certificate about it. It has to work out within yourself. This happening, this ascent has to take place. Now the other side of it is also, I should point it out before I finish, that in seeking people become fanatics. Like a pendulum they move. Like supposing they're drunkards, they're wayward, wasting their life, they join another order where they are properly dressed. They lead a good life in the sense they walk with their eyes downward, they don't look this side, that side, and they think they have become really great religious people. This is not in freedom. This is not in proper understanding. Because such a person becomes deadened again. He has to ascend. What you need is a proper balance. So the austerity, running away from sex, itself is a mistake. But even running towards the sex is a mistake. Sex is a spontaneous happening. There is no need to think about it. When you start thinking about it, means you're trying to do sex through your brain. If you start eating food through your nose, what will happen? And that's why in Germany, where the people think they are very great, marvelously sophisticated Freudians, you see, you'll be amazed that among 3 persons, 2 persons are impotent. Because you are using your brain for a thing like that. But we in India are spontaneous people, we are producing the maximum number of children. Moreover, you can't blame us for that. Because which child would like to be born in New York? Tell me. If you are given a choice, would you like to be born in New York or in America, wherever? No one. Because here the children are not loved by their parents, not looked after, not given that love. They are born in this volcanic world. People are standing as if on some crocodiles, shaking all the time, nervous, unhappily married. Everybody is unhappily married. They might have 10 marriages, they are never happily married people. Which child would like to be born in England where every week 2 children are killed by parents? Actually, such cruelty, such impatience, no love. So poor our country, India, has to bear all that. Because whatever it is, they love their children. They are poor and also are very much impressed. All our bureaucrats, all our business people who come to the West are very much impressed by your lifestyle. And they are all trying to dominate. But for a simple Indian, just looks at them, their stupidity. He's not bothered. He said they will be all right. Let them have few slaps, they'll be all right. And we have to be completely facing the situation that through our mental projection we have created an artificial cosmos in which we are revolving. We have to get out of it through our spiritual ascent. But what is the greatest thing about America is that in America there are many men of God born. What can I do? There are many seekers who are born in this great country. Actually, they are rewarded for what they did good. So they were blessed. See, you are a God-blessed country. Go from New York, upstate New York, nature, everything so beautiful. Such abundance of life. But whatever blessings you have made a mess out of it. That God can't help it. You have made a mess, not He. And you are men of God. As Blake has promised, the men of God have to become the prophets. Will become the prophets. And they will have powers to make other prophets. Now this is the criteria you must apply to your realization. If you can give realization to others, then you should know that you have got realization. Otherwise don't believe in it. No myth. You are not to be mythical. I think I have tried to cover quite a lot in this. But as Modi has said, it's endless. In the beginning we just give the first primer for people to read. Because I've seen that if you give the big book, they go off. Again the same ego business starts. So better is you read the first primer. Try to understand your own chakras. Try to understand where the problem is. Face yourself. There is nothing to be gained out of you. You have to gain something out of yourself. You may call me a banker who is cashing your checks. That's your relationship for the time being. As if I'm paid for it. You don't have to pay me anything. You cannot pay me anything. You cannot give me anything. That's the problem. So humble down. You have to take it from me. Whatever I can give you, I have to give you. But I have nothing else but love. And that also is not my mental thing. Just flows. So take full advantage of it. I would request you to ask me questions, but there is no need to be aggressive with me, because I have come here to give you something. You do not box the person who comes to give you something, do you? I mean, that's not good manners. So if I have in any way shocked you for anything, you can come and see me for that. But try to understand it is for your good, for your ascent. It's happening and the time is very short. The divine is anxious. It's very efficient. It's working out. But if you turn your face from the divine, it's not going to run after you and beg of you. This is one thing you have to understand. May God bless you.